It's a cold and rainy day outside today. Here's a dish that I really love to make when the weather is just god-awful outside. It's a nice, simple, clean, comfort food that I find myself making a lot lately. This is how I make simmered daikon. So first off, we're starting with a radish. You can use a Chinese radish, Korean radish, or Japanese radish. They all kind of work the same. We're gonna peel off the skin of the radish. Go on and take your time. This is a very low maintenance dish that takes a couple hours to prepare. I'm gonna chop off the ends of the radish and then we're gonna cut it into thick slices. After that, we're just gonna remove the edges of each slice. A lot of people do this with a knife, but I found it easiest to do it with just the peeler. This helps keep the radish together in the long simmer. You just want a nice trimmed off edge on each piece. We're gonna go ahead and do that to every piece. Then we're gonna take a knife and cut halfway through each radish in a cross pattern. Do not cut it like this, holding it. I'm just doing it to show you what the cut is gonna look like. Cut it on the table. We're aiming for a nice cross pattern, and this helps the flavor absorb into the radish. We're gonna do this to every piece. Next, we're gonna pull out a pot, grab the widest one that you have. We're gonna place the radishes in there with the slice side down. Then we'll add a tablespoon of white rice. That helps get the bitter flavor out. Fill your pot with water till the radishes float. Make sure you have about 2 centimeters of water above the radish. We're gonna put it on high heat until it comes to a boil. After it boils, we're gonna bring it down to a simmer. We're just gonna let it simmer until the radishes become transparent. A lot of people say this takes about 30 minutes, but I've never had it take 30 minutes. It's usually more like 40 to 45. For me, this one took 45. Just set a timer and let the steam warm your house. In the meantime, we're gonna cut some other vegetables that I think go really well with this. You don't want to use anything that adds too much to the flavor of the soup. So I feel like Napa cabbage works really well. I'm also gonna do some firm tofu. I'm using firm because we're gonna simmer this for a long time, and the firm tofu will hold up a lot better in the long simmer. Coming back to check on our radishes, I'm just gonna poke a chopstick through it. If it goes through easily, then usually it means it's done. Carefully pour out the hot water, and we're going to rinse each piece of the radish. Once everything's rinsed, we're gonna put it all back into the pot. I do split side down still, but I don't think it really matters at this point. Refill the pot up with water, and you're gonna wanna use more this time because we're also gonna be adding in the cabbage and the tofu. I'm gonna add soy sauce to the pot, slight sprinkle of rice vinegar or rice wine, dashi stock, which will give it most of the flavor along with the soy sauce. I'll put in a little bit of salt, very light. And I feel like I didn't add enough soy sauce, so I put in a little bit more. From there, we can put in our vegetables, kind of organize everything to make sure everything's submerged. And lastly, we put in the tofu. We'll let that come up to a boil on high heat. Once it starts boiling, we can bring it down to a medium to low heat and just let it be like a high simmer. And we're gonna simmer it for 30 minutes. If you notice a lot of the water is evaporating, you can turn down the fire a little bit and add a bit of water in. After 30 minutes, we'll turn off the heat and we're just gonna let it sit for another 20 to 30 minutes. While it sits and cools down, the soup is gonna get absorbed into the radish and you'll notice it becoming a much darker color. And that's it, you have simmered daikon that's as good as a 7-Eleven in Japan. I'll usually serve everything out on a plate and then ladle some of the soup on top as like a sauce. I'll usually serve it with a bowl of rice. It's just the perfect, clean comfort food. Sometimes there's something so great about eating something simple and tasty that makes you feel really good. A lot of times on a cold, rainy day, I'll just make a big pot of this at the beginning and just watch movies. And that's it. I hope you try it out, and I hope you stay warm out there.